Good day and welcome back to the Family Cyber Clinic. This year, Happy New Year to you. Happy 2022. It's so nice to be back. So nice to be able to do what we've been doing for years now. Wow, 2019 we started, it's 2022 already. It's been a journey. And it is a year that I am hoping that we can do a lot more for you and those little ones, okay? Happy New Year to you. Happy 2022. I hope you have kept safe all through and that you're ready to go with me on this journey to keep our young ones safe whilst they engage on the internet. Okay? But we would love to start this year with something quite basic. I say basic because it's something that we ought to be doing. As a parent or a guardian, we must protect our children from all harm. It doesn't matter where it's coming from. Internet safety is key, okay? And this includes taking reasonable steps to protect them from COVID-19. The virus can transfer from our kids to the surfaces where they engage on the internet from. And of course, as they transfer whatever it is to the surfaces, kids who share that same space, or adults even, can pick up these viruses, okay? So keeping the workstation area clean, keeping their devices clean is of utmost importance. And that's how we want to start the year, okay? It in no way means that we are starting the year on something quite, unimportant. This is actually more important than all the other things that we'll share on this channel this year, because it's so basic and ignoring it can maim our children, maim us, and just cause unnecessary disruption that we can obviously avoid. Okay, so I'm going to talk about certain things we can do, to minimize the impact the virus can have on our young ones and indeed the entire family this year and beyond. Okay, now I want you to try and picture this, because I'm not really going to do any particular demonstration. I'm going to try and make it as simple as possible so that you can run with me. So we'll start with the devices that they use. They use a smartphone. Most of our kids now have smartphones, and those smartphones, most of the time, the face, the bit with the screen, that's the place that they do most of their interneting from. That's a word, I've just developed it. They do that all, from the screen. They touch the screen continuously. Now, if your young one is poorly and they're sneezing and coughing, of course, the phone will be hit by, I don't want to be too gross, but you get the idea. The screen will be impacted if there's a cough or a sneeze. Okay, so what do we do? Sometimes the kids will move the phone away and because it won't hit. But ultimately, to keep them safe, we've got to clean the surfaces of the phone that they're using. And as I said, it will be the screen. Now, many people use water. They use sprays directly onto the screen. That's not what we are recommending, because that can damage. And you find that will basically be the same we'll talk about, or that we'll say when we're talking about other devices. But the screen, you can't just put a liquid directly. There are appropriate liquids, which we'll put in the description, that you can use, that you may use directly, but we don't recommend it generally. So if you're using just a normal detergent, a disinfectant, you put it on a clean cloth first. And then once you've applied it on the clean cloth, you can now use the clean, wet cloth to clean the surfaces of the phone, the back and the front. That's before and after use. And I hope if you've been part of this channel for quite a while, your young one's not going to be on the phone for 24 hours. At some point, you've got to put those restrictions and allow them be creative doing something else and not just on their phone. And when that time comes, that's when you do the cleaning. So it has to be done before and after. Of course, we'll also recommend that they wash their hands before they engage on their devices. Wake up in the morning and just go, no, get your hands washed before you use those devices, especially since we're talking about the smartphone. And of course, once they've dropped it, they also, wash their hands after. And then you obviously do the cleaning. So that would be the smartphone. Just clean the face and the front, but put the liquid or disinfectant on a cloth, a clean cloth, before you clean the smartphone. This will be the same if your young one has a tablet. Again, most of the activity on the tablet is on the screen, so the screen has to be clean. Same way, put the disinfectant or the detergent onto a clean cloth and use that to clean the face of the tablet or the screen, and just do that gently. No brute force, just gently clean it. And once you're satisfied that it's been clean, you let it go. Okay? But again, the kids using it have to wash their hands or use disinfectants before and after. You're beginning to get the drift, I hope. Okay? There's another device that we know that many of our young ones have. Apple have it, HP, Dell, and I'm sure others do. It's called the all-in-one computer, where you're able to basically touch a screen. A big screen typically used to be a monitor before, but now they have it all working, as one unit. That's why it's called the all-in-one. Your kid also has to touch. So wherever they're touching, it means that they're touching and they can transfer germs onto the screen. Again, if it's a shared screen, which I can tell in a family that is mostly the case, then you have to clean it also, like you did the tablet and the smartphone. So when you're cleaning the all-in-one screen, you've got to put the liquid or disinfectant on a clean cloth, clean the screen, and once you're done, you let your young one come back on after they've had downtime. It's important that they wash their hands before and after use, giving you time, obviously, to do your cleaning as necessary. Okay? Then there's a fourth device, and that would be the workstation. You have a monitor, you have a keyboard, and you have a unit, a base unit somewhere hiding, hopefully. But ultimately, your young one is engaging on the keyboard and mouse. Very rarely the screen. But anywhere that your young one touches has to be cleaned. It's a general rule. When you clean your houses, I know some of you, yes, I can see you. I know how you clean. You go all out to keep those things in the house clean. Do the same on the computer area or the devices. It will not add so much time to your daily chores. So it's important. So why not? Okay. So on the desktop front, the two areas we're going to concentrate on will be the keyboard and the mouse. These are the things they use the most. So let's start with the mouse. The mouse is a fragile device. You don't want to use brute force to clean it. So again, don't spray liquid directly onto the mouse. Spray it onto a clean cloth and then use that to gently massage the mouse, all areas that your young one will touch, and clean it out. Okay, that's before and after use. Then you move to the keyboard. Okay, keyboard is quite tricky, and when I say tricky, I mean tricky because it has gaps between the keys, which means if you have not told, and you should, if you've not told your young one not to eat around the workstation area, there are bound to be crumbs in those, gaps on the keyboard. So you've got to make sure that those crumbs are out. But before you do that, you can do the same topical cleaning by spraying the disinfectant or liquid onto a cloth and cleaning gently, because those keys are quite fragile. So you clean it as best as you can before and after use. Okay, so to get the crumbs out, the two ways that we're recommending. The first, this is when the computer is off. You carry the keyboard away from the table to somewhere other than the table. You turn it over so that the keys are facing downward. If you have a bin, that would be beautiful, but if you don't, you're going to have to clean the area that the keyboard is pointing downwards to after this little process. But ultimately, you're turning the keyboard over with the keys facing downwards. Then you're gently tapping the back of the keyboard, not brute force, gently. You tap it and you find that the crumbs will come out of the keyboard. In fact, I recommend, COVID or not, do that periodically. Okay, you have the crumbs come out of the area, and you turn the keyboard and then just clean it again with that, clean cloth and disinfectant. You clean it and the keyboard is pretty much clean. You can do a bigger and better job if you buy I think it's called an air blower. Basically it blows clean air into those gaps on the keyboard, and it will dislodge the bits that have been left in the keyboard. Yeah, really gross, but you get the idea. That will keep the keyboard clean. Your young ones sneeze onto the keyboard, they cough onto the keyboard, so that area needs to be clean. And these things I've mentioned will keep your keyboard significantly clean. Discourage eating around the keyboard. Of course, also have your young one have tissue in their hands, or somewhere on the table, so if they need to sneeze and cough, they're coughing into tissue, which they can put away. Cleaning their hands before and after will take care of the fact that they're touching germs and all that with the tissue. You get the whole idea. So we're taking a lot of time to explain this. This should just be basic. I'm not nannying any of you. I'm not babying any of you. But after interviewing, not like an official interview, but having engaged with some of the parents, I know that this is not happening. So I'm urging us as families or as guardians to these young ones to clean their area. In fact, if you have family friends, make sure they're doing this also. Whatever it is they're doing in school, because these things are being done in school. They're being done obviously in your workplaces. So you see it being done. All we're saying is bring it home and make sure that you're cleaning the devices that your young ones are using. The last and certainly not the least area that needs to be cleaned is the work surface itself. And that usually is a table, a computer table. There's a chair and all that. Those need to be cleaned also. And again, you clean it as you will clean your house. Obviously, you're now using disinfectants or detergents that will sanitize the area. You may be able to spray the liquid directly onto the work surface if it's not susceptible to damage. But ultimately, we want it to be thoroughly cleaned before and after use. Okay? I think that pretty much covers the computer area. Now, there's one key thing that needs to happen that will almost certainly make this work, and that's communication. Make sure you're communicating with your young one. Let them know why you're doing this. Let them know why it's important that this is done. Your young one is washing their hands before they engage on the workstation or the work area, and that they're also washing their hands after use. That they're not eating around the computer area, that they're keeping liquids away and things like that. That they're just being diligent. Gyms are able to open because during their risk assessments, for example, one of the things that they have put on their notes, and I've seen one or two during the risk assessments, is that they will be encouraging their members to clean after themselves after using the equipment. That's such a basic thing to do, but it's a crucial thing to do. And that's why we're urging our parents on the platform and guardians to do the same thing, to make sure that whilst we're keeping them safe from the rogues on the internet, we're also keeping them safe in real life. Okay? We are starting the year intentionally with something as basic as computer hygiene. I hope it's been useful. I hope that you will follow it through. You'll be consistent. I know you would be, because you clean your house. So you must extend that to the work area that your kids engage on the internet from. I've been your host, Lawrence Idem. Until next week, God bless and goodbye.